Good morning, all of you. Family of SISA, all its well-wishers, friends, thank you for inviting me here for this foundation stone ceremony of the Nalanda. No, I really got inspired by the name, of course. And after coming here, I came to understand a little bit about the concept. Thank you, Darshan, for that idea that you are trying to bring in. Really, this domain of cybersecurity is something which I had no clue to start with, maybe a few years back. Now, I am from the generation of engineers who started the career without ever knowing computers. No, when I graduated, there was no computers at my college. And not even when I came and joined ISRO, there were no PCs. We had only the HP 9000 computer and the PDP 11 and all those type of stuff to start with. But that was an era where we started learning about computers, but then the transitioning from that time to now has been tremendous. And for us, sometime back, many years back, the security was nothing but an antivirus. From an antivirus to the products that we talk about today, is a great journey for you people. And with the times, I think the applications are expanding, the threats are also expanding. I think it's a very natural process. Whenever there is something happening, there will be a counter happening for it. I think we are also very familiar with it, especially when you are working in space. Now the domain is like this. The need of cybersecurity tools, solutions become very, very evident. And after me having occupied this position, I had a little more insight into the type of work needed to be done, the type of threat perception that the country faces, not only for ISRO, but also for the whole of the nation. I have a little more clearer picture. And the picture puts us in a really very precarious situation. I think let us all realize it very well, that though we are happy with what is happening, that the situation around us looks okay, but it's not at all okay. I think it's really, if you go deeper into it, I think it will come to understand the real threats are of very high magnitude. And they are not limited to some of those theft of your personal data or some of the attacks that you hear and there, but it is to do with much greater scale of events that can unfold when something will happen at a later point in time. And it is to do with the security of the nation itself. I think to that scale, it can grow. It can threaten all of us. Our existence, our lives, our resources, the strength, everything can be questioned on that simple point of cybersecurity. So in that event, how do we really prepare ourselves over long periods of time? This is something very, very important. As Darshan just now mentioned, our position in the nations, in the level of competence in this domain possibly is very low now. But then it's a serious issue that we need to find out ways and means by which it can really be taken up. But this is one part of the story. But then if you really look at our IT services and IT tools that we have been doing over the years, one of the very sad part is that we have been working on technologies which are already existing and finding out solutions based on those technologies. Of course, we have been good at building certain platforms for the global customers and bring revenues, brings jobs in India in a substantial manner, especially in the IT domain. But if you really go into the core technology development part in this domain, we will see the story is not that very good at all. If you really look at the type of applications or softwares that has come out of Indian industries, in core technology domains, we will see that they are very, very less, extremely less. For example, in the domains which I work, for example, the space domain, most of the softwares which we use for our own applications are written by our own people. You look at domains like the flight dynamics, how to send a satellite up there, how to design the trajectory of a rocket to go up there, or even control the satellite in orbit, the communication protocols, the design tools which we use for designing a rocket or even for a satellite, and many of the standard tools that we talk about here, the tools for structural design, tools for thermal design, electromagnetic design, circuit design. And many of them are procured. They are not coming from out of our own core competence. They are more mathematical, more technical to code them, to test them, and bring it out as a product. I had association with many companies, startups in the late 90s who were trying to do this type of work. But over the years, I have seen many of them going down the drain and not really making an impact in the commercial space. They were not able to sustain, build it up over a period of time. And most of those companies moved away from India to other parts of the world, though they were actually incubated in India. And we have seen this issue over long periods of time, and we have taken a decision within ISRO that we are slowly going to change it and trying to develop those core competencies and bring out software products which are now industry friendly from ISRO. I think we have recently released a software called FEAST. Possibly you would have heard about it, called Finite Element Analysis Structures. It's a software that can be used by structural engineers, architects, designers, bridges, or aircrafts. And you can use this software for all those designs which possibly could be maybe a little deficient than the commercial ones which are available in the market. But this is on par in terms of its capabilities. But the user friendliness, of course, possibly it will be suffering. But there are other tools like the fluid flow problems. CFD is a very complex computational problem which requires huge computational infrastructure. We have developed, in fact, when I was the director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, I called 5 of my young engineers and told them that we should develop a core CFD tool within ISRO. Till then, we have been using a brought-out core and then built up on that a CFD structure. And these 5 people worked for 1 year and brought out one of the best software CFD tool which we are using today in ISRO. And we are now trying to make it commercially available. And you talk about the now thermal, orbital mechanics, or long-term evolution of space objects. Possibly, there are thousands of satellites in space, and all of them move randomly here and there, and they can come and collide at any time. And this is a very complex problem, and this complex problem requires softwares which requires to be analyzing all these trajectories and finding out whether they will ever come very close to each other. We call them analysis of collision possibilities. It's a probabilistic mathematical analysis. But this analysis tool we have developed internally in ISRO, and today we are one of the best in the world to give solutions for such problem, and we do global competitions, and our results are on par with many of those predictions that are brought out in the world. And we also do similar predictions of satellites re-entry, and if you know how to calculate them very precisely, how they will re-enter at some point in time and then enter Earth, and our results compared with the global competitions where we conduct are all on par. And many of these results possibly you may not ever know, and these are done by our own engineers in India who have been trained in our institutions. Engineers and scientists who came out of our own institutions have the ability to do all of this stuff in India. Possibly we can do much more in the core scientific and technical work of software coding and analysis, which are more mathematical, which are more academically oriented. And this is precisely the task that we have ahead in cybersecurity as well. Today, the work of SISA possibly could be on finding problems, solutions for your customers all across the globe. Of course, that is one part of the business that you are trying to develop right now. But your concept of Cyber Nalanda is something very inspiring for me. And you are trying to bring in researchers, you are trying to bring in the academic people who are fresh from the colleges and universities, who are coming up with great ideas and trying to experiment with new thoughts and possibilities. And this is where you should catch, this is where you should connect with even industry demand and the academic possibilities. And when you can do this too, then you should be able to make world-class products out of it. It could be in hardware, it could be in software. And this is a challenge, and this can happen only when you have an inspiring leadership who will be ready to invest your time and effort and create that team of inspired people. You don't need hundreds of them, you need tens of them in an organization of this class. If you can create such an inspired team, you can work with anyone and create that fantastic tools that the world will look at ahead in the future. And only through that you will be able to become, you will raise your position in the cyber world of security from the 17th, as Darshan said, I really don't know whether it is 17th, but to a position that should be the top ones. And this is very, very important for us. Because today in ISRO also we have huge infrastructure, especially which are vulnerable. We have satellites in orbit, we have 55 of them. We have huge networks, which are internal networks. You have also the commanding networks and the satellite data receptions all across the globe. All are connected to our data centers. And global access is possible for all of them. And especially when the Chandrayaan-3 was landing, our data was coming from Australia and in Spain and South Africa and many other places. And we have been coordinating to work with all of this during the landing process. And our commands go from here, but it will be uploaded from some other terminal in some other continent. And it is all vulnerable. I think you should all realize that such commanding and control of satellites from across the globe could be very, very vulnerable. And we realize that this is all something that we need to take care. And we also realize that many of our satellites can become easily targets of such attacks, though we harden them with your hardware, software protection. But it is nothing is safe in this world. I think anybody can hack or create havoc in our system. And also, of course, the data that we have collected, especially the design data or the personal data or the scientific data that we have created over the years, could also be very vulnerable. And we are also seeing threats to most of our installations. And these threats requires to be mitigated over a period of time. And it's not true for ISRO alone, but it's for most of the infrastructure assets. It could be for your air traffic. I think we have seen recently how it can be very vulnerable. It could be for our train networks. It could be our financial transactions. It could be for our national security information systems. So it is very, very important as a nation that we need to promote cybersecurity awareness. It also goes with your culture. It's not just the technology. It has to do with many of your culture, the way you handle products and systems, and the people training that you give to individuals and societies. That also matters in terms of security. So security is nothing but a personal attribute that will have to be developed over a period of time along with the technology aspect of it. And I'm really happy that SISA is building this capability. In fact, in the last few years, I was trying to connect with many of the people who are working in this domain. Of course, my team is represented here with Chetwani, and he has been very active to connect with all the people across the country in this domain. And I am very happy to talk to many of them and find out how they can be useful for the nation first, and also for the globe, for the entire world first, where you want to live as a secured, not threatened by others. Especially there are forces which you want to destabilize you, not just to be on the personal level, but also in the global, national level power struggle. For a nation like India, it's very important because, as he said, it's a very democratic country where you don't do much of those activities in the manner that is not done by others. So it's very important to develop a very democratic process of developing this capability in institutions, not only in governmental institutions, but also in private institutions as well. That's why SISA's role is very important. And I want to make sure that this connect between all the governmental institutions and SISA continue. And it's our hope that you create the right ecosystem under SISA, connecting the researchers, the new generation of people, the academics, and also the inspired young people who will be willing to work in this domain, which is very exciting. As I know, Darshan is also a finance guy who got charmed by the cybersecurity. I think many of you may be of similar attributes. So I wish once again all the very best to SISA for their journey, and happy to be here amongst you. And thank you so much, and best wishes to all of you.